Pink Dot, an annual event in Singapore that supports the LGBTQ+ community and promotes inclusiveness, diversity, and the freedom to love. The event began in 2009 and is typically held at Hong Lim Park, the only location in Singapore where public assemblies and speeches are allowed. The name Pink Dot reflects the theme of the event, where participants often wear pink clothing and form a large human pink dot to symbolize support for the LGBTQ+ community. The event includes performances, speeches, and various activities aimed at raising awareness about LGBTQ+ issues and fostering a sense of community and acceptance. For over a decade, Pink Dot has been a beacon of hope and solidarity for the LGBTQ+ community in Singapore. Each year, thousands gather at Hong Lim Park to stand together for a more inclusive society where everyone is free to love. This year, with the theme No One Left Behind, Pink Dot aims to highlight the ongoing marginalisation of LGBTQ+ people in post-repeal Singapore and their exclusion from conversation around our country's future. We were invited to Pink Dot's media campaign launch event this year, and we spoke to some people about what they felt about the structural discrimination in Singapore and how life is often shaky and uncertain for the LGBTQ+ persons.
Hi, my name is Dan.
My name is Sean.
I'm Rachel. I'm Heather.
Hi, Kiramun.
Hi, my name is Kanch.
I'm Divade.
My name is Andy.
My name is Farhan.
Hi, I'm Harris Zaidi.
Yeah, my name is Andy.
Hi, my name is Sam Joe.
My name is Pam Wee. I'm a theatre practitioner.
Hi, I'm Opera Tang.
What is this examination question right here? The main cause of structural discrimination that queer people face in Singapore. Come back! Come back!
That would be because we come from a very conservative society. I mean, living in Singapore, a lot of the government policies, a lot of the benefits are shaped around family values, like healthcare or housing. So because of this, coming from a conservative country like Singapore, you tend to get higher levels of discrimination among queer people.
Society in general, and even us as human beings, are very vulnerable to change. We are more willing to welcome things that are familiar. And as time progresses, as a modern Singapore is more exposed to the world, and we are more learned and more knowledgeable. I think it is only responsible thing to do is to embrace all these changes as well.
It's like when it lies with legal recognition, if there is no legal recognition, then it's just a free fall towards if the government doesn't recognize gay marriage, if it doesn't recognize gay families, if it doesn't recognize just queer people in general, the discrimination that we face, then of course it's just gonna continue into a waterfall effect. It's just a trickle down effect where everyone, if the government doesn't recognize it, then what more everyone else? So I think that's definitely the main issue. If government doesn't talk about it, if the ministers don't talk about it, if the Prime Minister doesn't acknowledge our discrimination that we face, the difficulties that we go through in life, then of course what more the whole country, right? Yeah.
I feel like there is this thing about Singaporeans where we want to follow the laws, we abide by the laws we are very regulatory, very rule-abiding citizens. So when things are not black and white, for example, when the repeal wasn't going forward, people were like, oh, but it's still illegal. And then now that the repeal has happened, it's is it legal? Is it illegal? There's that grey area that people are not aware, people are not able to navigate around.
Yeah.
So I feel like that could be a change in the future, maybe.
Easy. No education. The government say one thing, but they don't act on it. So, blame the government. I think it's more about like the lack of understanding and going out of your bubble. Because the main reason people don't understand is because they don't have exposure or like friends who are like queer or something, and like they don't have people to talk to them about it. So they're automatically like follow the status quo, and they're like, no, like this, we don't accept this, and we don't want to push for it. So I think it's like kind of the closed-mindedness, and that's why we want to like keep pushing for like more queer representation, whether it's like brown or trans. Like I think the more we have conversations like him having this whole thing with us, like it's great. I think that's important.
I think it's a lack of awareness because, as from what I see, I think a lot of Singaporeans are generally quite they're just going about their own things. You know, they don't really go out of their way to like think about for example, other communities, etc. So I think a lot of it comes from a lack of awareness, a lack of understanding, because you cannot represent LGBT people in a positive light in Singapore generally based on the current regulations. So as a result, what they see is negative, and so they have, of course, as a result, they have a negative impression. So I think a lot of it is just a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding.
If it's structural discrimination, I think a narrow definition of what family and valuable contribution to society is, I think that causes structural discrimination. Yeah.
Right.
I think it's simple. I think it's basically the fact that they are different in the eyes of society. I think it's just the way how the societal construct is. And I think it's because of that usually, I hate to say this word, hetero folks, but I think basically the non-conforming, basically people who don't identify themselves as gay or queer, they find it really difficult to actually understand why are queer people different in terms of how they actually live their lives, or in terms of how they actually love who they love, right? Because I mean it's just different. So I think that might be the natural reaction or answers on how why queer people feel discriminated.
I mean, I think the usual answers is like fear, you don't know them, and you fear what you don't know. But I think we inherit these things. It's like, I think structurally, I think we're taught to have a certain identity, and that identity can be either I'm Malay and Muslim, or Indian, or I'm Chinese. There is some kind of identity that others, because we're trying to, and that's pertinent maybe in a country like Singapore. Oh, we are us and they are them. And this kind of structure makes it very easy for us to fall into a narrative of they're so different. This one is really different from us. And this one is very scary one. It's not just Malay or Chinese or Indian. This one is like, wow, this is unnatural. So I think it's systemic that I think is the conditioning that makes all of this easier for people to believe in.
Yeah, I think the structural cause really is our government not giving us the opportunity to have a voice. And also I feel like, in today's society, there's still a lot of, no matter how forward thinking or how progressive Singapore preaches itself to be, there's still a lot of conservative people. I mean, my parents are very conservative, and I feel like we need another generation of people to come up and really change the whole landscape, right? There's a lot of religious people, I say. Even though we say that we are a secular country, we do have a lot of influence by our religious groups. So I feel like there's all these different factors that builds up into how Singapore is represented as it is now. I mean, they say there's no discrimination, but there's obviously all this discrimination that we have in our system, and I feel like I'm also experiencing it on a day-to-day.
The problem is the straight people. So, I think it's casual homophobia, casual racism. I have a 13-year-old son, and experiencing casual comments in class as a teenage boy. I mean, I'm his mother, so I have taught him many things, and he's very okay with a lot of things. But to hear him come back from school and say, "Hey, Mama, my friend said this," and I don't feel comfortable with it, but what can I do? And as a 13-year-old kid, he's not 52 like me, where I have a whole lifetime of experience behind me where I can say, "Hey, you, stop that." But as a 13-year-old kid, how does he navigate this? And I feel that the problem, very much so, is just the casualness of racism, of homophobia in everyday society, and I think that is the biggest problem. Straight people.
Well, there are nasty gay people too, but anyway, that's another story.
Honestly, I feel like, it's quite clear, right? If you ever live in Singapore or you're familiar with the system here in Singapore, yes, we have made a lot of progress in the past few years, especially with the repeal of 377A, but a lot of policies still remain very inherently biased against, the LGBTQ community, right? You're talking about housing policies. You're talking about how sex education is taught in schools. You're talking about how, if you want to marry someone, or you want to be with your partner for life, and you want to have a family in Singapore, all these things, the odds are stacked against you in Singapore. And I feel like, I'm not trying to say that things are not getting better.
Yeah.
I believe they are, but it's precisely these things that we need to work at, and we need to chip up against, and this is a completely wrong word, but we need. It's precisely these things that we need to chip at, continue chipping at.
Absolutely.
And it's precisely these things that we need to continue chipping at.
Yeah.
And continue fighting for.
Yeah.
Okay, because the work is not done. It doesn't mean that just because 377A has been repealed and everything, life is perfect, life is peachy, everything is dandy. Hell no. Okay, we're not saying that progress hasn't been made. No, we're saying that, look, this is how far we've come, but are we really at a point where we can live our lives the way we want to live it? I don't think so. Okay, can we, if I and you were in a relationship right now, if we wanted to have a family, we want to start a family, we wanted to have a house of our own, if we wanted to make sure that our children are safe, is that going to happen in Singapore? I don't think so, not yet. I'm hopeful that it will happen one day, but I think there's just a lot more work to be done. I know this is something you've heard time and again, but I think it's about time that we speak up and everyone talk to the people that matter to you. Ask yourself, what is it that you want?
Yeah.
It's all-round closed-mindedness, but no, truthfully speaking, it's lack of education, lack of a platform for visibility, for alternative lifestyles, and also, I forgot the last thing that I was going to say, but it may have just been a synonym of the first two.
Well, I think first and foremost, right, is to be open. So whether it being in your workplace, whether it being in army, in national service, or whether it being at home, I believe if you feel that someone in your family or your circle of friends or your colleague is queer, you should maybe give them the opportunity to open up or to discuss it or to show your acceptance. And by doing this, we can take the next step to eliminate or at least minimize discrimination and have a more open and inclusive society.
More people are exposed. It's like conditioning, right? The more that we expose to them, informative and learned way as well, because we don't want to sound as we trick them because of too much of exposure, right? Or popular culture, right?
First of all, it's about just standing up for the people, standing up for the pure people in your life, just making sure that casual discrimination towards queer people doesn't happen, you make sure that people are educated in whatever capacity you can, and then beyond that, it's just making it known to the government, the same as repeal, right? Like, if you make it known to the government that we are ready for these things, that we're ready for change, and that, you know, this is not the view that we adopt anymore, then of course the government has to do something about it. I feel like the people hold a lot of power and we don't realize it, and so we need to use that power to make sure that the society is what we want it to be.
Power to the people.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Thank you. And like building on that, I think we should just never shut up. We should just keep talking about it. If not, then people, if we are silent about it, people will be like, oh, but they're okay with it, when we're not.
All goes to the up there, so let's pressure our government and show how important it is to get educated about real things, real people, and all these are real. We are not here as a myth. We are not made up.
We're real.
Yeah, this is who we are, and you have to educate your people why we are as important as you are. So let's pressure the government.
But I think there's always something that we have to strive towards, because like if, for example, like we did repeal 377A, but did that structurally mean something? Like there's still a lot of like steps we need to take. Like we need to like account for like racism within the queer community. We need to make sure like access, like surgeries for trans people is accessible. Like there's so many layers, and I think it will always be something we all collectively have to work towards.
I think it works both ways. So I think like we need spaces where we can connect like the LGBT community and allies, people outside the LGBT community. And like I think that sports is a great way to do that. Like for example, I have a running club that's an LGBT running club, and we met people from like non-LGBT running clubs, and you know we just get along. And so I think that sort of thing we need, even if it's not sports, even if it's something else. I think we just need these sort of spaces where people can just kind of get together, and as a result, you realize that you know we're not that different after all.
Yeah. So I think that people are all just different anyway. So if you see someone who's different from you, just don't think they're different and in a bad way. You know, just be empathetic and treat them like a human being, and I think that's good enough.
I think it all begins with simple conversations. You need to have conversations with people. I think it's more about if you really do care about queer people, or even if you know that your friends or your colleagues who are queer, and you really value them, you really treasure them. I think a small step is just to have conversations on how you, as a friend, or you know, as a person who basically sees value to the relationship, ask, how can I help to actually make sure that you feel more welcome, in an environment or in a setting where you want to ensure that your friends or your loved ones don't feel as if like they are being left out. Yeah.
Okay, I think discrimination is a very loaded word. You tell someone, hey, this is discrimination, then everybody gets very defensive, right? And I think it's a two-way dialogue conversation. When, for example, us say you're discriminating, I think sometimes we ask ourselves where that comes from. Is it an accusation, or is it hey, I think we can talk about this and whatever, and yeah, maybe we could both be a bit more flexible in in viewpoints and how we see each other. So I think the spirit with which we approach something like discrimination is also important. And sometimes another word for discrimination is I don't know better because no one talked to me about it in a nice way. Yeah, so I'm just behaving this way, but maybe if you... And then I also like, yeah, okay, let's talk about it. And I think that goes a long way for both parties lah.
So, for context, I got married to my husband in Taiwan.
Congratulations.
Thank you. In Taiwan last year. He's Taiwanese. So we are legally married there, right? But when I came back to Singapore, I remember going to the doctor and I had to fill out a form, and they say your marital status. And for some reason, I just trembled when I read that. And I'm like, should I put married or should I put single? And I feel like the system doesn't support me feeling confident enough to say that I'm married, right? And there's all these different factors that avoided us from family planning. Like we met in Singapore. Singapore is where we feel belong and where we build our home and family. But it's just all these different obstructions in the system that doesn't allow us to really just truly be ourselves. And I think there's sometimes little nuances like that make me feel that I'm excluded, and it doesn't feel good. Yeah.
And do you feel like Singaporeans could do more to help to reduce or eradicate these discrimination that you mentioned?
Yeah, I think conversations are really healthy. Like I feel like after the repeal of 3778, there's more conversations going around. I feel like that should continue. People who are heterosexual, who have never really experienced anyone who are from the LGBTQ community, should really have an open mind to, step out of the comfort zone, meet with people like us, and have a conversation. And I think on our side as well, like we should not be having this mentality of like me versus you, but more of trying to make them feel like it's okay for them to ask questions, to have doubts and to have questions, right? So I think it's both sides. Like we both need to support each other, kind of in terms of having more conversations.
Actually, straight allies are very important. Whenever you see something that's being done that's an injustice, I think it matters. You say a little something, or if you don't feel up to it, to do a little something to. And I heard this once from someone who was in a corporate company. Another colleague knew that she was gay, but never talked about it. But during Pride Month, she just put a pride flag on her desk, like this is from me. And then like to the gay person, it's just little acts like that, to tell someone that you have company, you have friends, and you're not alone. I think that's very, very important. For me tonight, what moved me was the panel of speakers and the amazing courage they showed by going on stage and sharing their stories. And particularly for Shania and Daniel. And for me, educators are so important because I've had the privilege of teachers who have been amazing guiding forces. And because Shania has to leave her teaching job just because of who she is, you see, I cry until my there's 2 tissue here, like two. I mean, it's very squashed up now, but it's very moving for me, and it's such a waste when people have to leave educating our children just because of who they are. Yeah. So I think what we can do is to just open our minds and our hearts a little bit more, and know that society is made up of a huge spectrum of people.
Absolutely.
And you know what? As long as you are human, everyone deserves the right to be human and to behave like human. And life is already very hard. So like, to fight so many discriminations and swim against the tide, so hard. So I feel that society in Singapore just has to be more open and accepting about the fact that there are people, very human, different, who live among us.
No, I think most Singaporeans in our generation, or at least my generation, are really very open to these kind of topics because of social media. And I think being open-minded and being fair-minded and being discerning and empathetic, those are qualities that most humans have anyways, right? So, and with social media being an avenue for these topics and these conversations to happen, I think it's only inevitable that we'll get our rights down the line when the more close-minded people and then
educate them.
Oh yes, that. No, I'm okay. Let's cut that out because my grandmother will educate your grandmother. Yes.
And I'm a huge
Yeah.
fan of my grandmother, by the way. Thank you for interviewing me.
What do you like about my grandmother? No, I'm kidding. No, by being empathetic and open, I think that's the thing.
That's very interesting. I feel like there's always something that we have to work towards, because there will never be like a complete like understanding of like people's struggles, and it's always like, because we will never be free until like one aspect of our community is free, like which is why I'm also wearing this.
Well, it would be, pretty much utopia, right? It would be. I'm smiling only because I feel like it's something which I never even bothered to imagine before. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't think I could.
Yeah.
I think that if all these problems were gone and if all these like barriers were lifted for LGBTQ individuals like ourselves, it would be great. Everyone can just live as they are.
Yeah.
Everyone can live their truth. We all know life is too short.
Yeah.
To live your life as if it was someone else's. Like, don't live in secrecy. Do not live a lie.
Yeah.
And I think that if all these things were gone, like you said, it would just be magical. I don't know how to. You're making me a little bit emotional right now, because I feel like it's one of those things where if it really does happen, as and when, and I believe it will happen, like, time will always heal, time will always make things better. We just need to stay the course and continue fighting. And I believe that good things will come our way. And like, even for you, like, I know you just got married. Like, it's my turn to interview you.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Engaged, married.
Are you
next
looking
year.
to get married?
Yes.
Exactly. So what exactly is what I mean? Like, for people who want to get married, for people who want to spend the rest of their lives together, but they find themselves to be LGBTQ, what does it mean for them?
Yeah.
Right? And if we can't imagine a future for ourselves in Singapore, then I feel like Singapore is in trouble. Because where are all our people going to go?
Yeah.
They're going to go overseas. They're going to go somewhere else.
People are already doing that now.
Exactly. There's a bit of a brain drain, and I feel like, look, we are as much of your social fabric as anyone else. We are your brothers, we are your sisters, we are your sons, we are your daughters, we are your fathers, we are your mothers.
We are in your workforce.
Exactly, we're your colleagues.
We're contributing tax as well.
Very that. We are all around you, and we are not different at all. In fact, we are same. We share the same aspirations. We want to succeed in life. We want to be happy. Our life on this earth is so short. We all want to be here. We all want to have a good time. We all want to help each other be happy and healthy together. So why not let's do that?
Do you love yourself?
Yes, very much actually.
We all try to, but a very harsh society with a lot of expectations. Sometimes we succumb to these social pressures as well.
Oh yeah, for sure I do.
I love myself quite a lot, to the point of maybe narcissism, I don't know. Yeah, but I do.
We call it Delulu, right?
Yeah. That's where I am. Yes, that's where I am. Yes.
Very much comfortable with myself, and I feel like I'm very authentic, and I feel like I think this is also the topic of being out versus being authentic, because I mean, to me, these two are different things. To me, I may not be necessarily out to people that I hold dear to. Like, my parents, I feel like they don't know about me, but I feel like even if they know, I feel like it's not really a big issue. For me, it's more about how I actually carry myself out to the public. If I'm authentic to myself, I feel like I can actually achieve anything. I can basically do anything in life. And I feel like authenticity is key.
I do love myself, and you can hear a but coming, but the but is I'm menopausing. So I tell you, but I mean I am menopausing, and I am considering HRT. So for me, as a straight cis het woman, to hear about the community that I care for using HRT in a very different way is like, okay, shut up, Pam. Just shut up. Yeah, HRTs, whatever lah, whatever. Yeah, cishet Chinese woman in Singapore, just shut up lah. Yeah.
I think I do. It's taken me a long time.
Yeah.
It's taken me a long time. But there was a time when I didn't. And I think I can speak for a lot of us as well. There was a time when all of us didn't love ourselves. And it was very tricky growing up. You know, we felt like we were left behind. Yeah. Speaking of this year's Pink Dot theme, right? Like no one left behind. I feel like it really resonated with me because there was a time when I felt like, why am I not like my peers? Like, why is it that, you know, they're talking about dating so openly in a carefree manner that I could never, because I felt like I was hiding a deep, dark secret that, God forbid, if anyone found out, that would be the end of the world for me. That would be the end of my existence, you know? So fatalistic, right? Yeah. But not by choice. It's because it's by circumstance. It's because I didn't feel safe coming out to people, even my closest friends, even the people who were closest to me in my family. And I feel like years have passed and I feel like, you know, I have grown in my own identity and thanks to Pink Dot over the years as well. You know, my first Pink Dot was actually in 2019. Very late in my life, very, very late in the game. But when I want to... Exactly. I still made a choice and I felt like, you know, better late than never. There is... Go at your own speed is what I'm saying. Yeah. Don't make other people feel like, oh my God, you have to come out now. Or it's too late, why have you not come out yet? Like, look, you do what you're ready for. But all I'm trying to say is that when I came out, I felt like a huge chest... When I came out, I felt like a huge waist... When I came out, I felt like a huge weight was lifted off my chest, you know, and waist.
We got there. We got there.
You know, popular saying. I'm not talking too much because I feel like I'm holding you back. But listen, I might be a little bit tipsy, but everything I'm saying is the truth. And
nothing
stay
but
tuned.
The truth. Yes.
Stay tuned. The truth, and nothing but the truth. No, really, really, really.
I went overboard and said, I am the center of the universe.
Woo! Yeah. As you should be.
Because, you know, we all have ambitions. And I went to the top.
The Lulu, they call it, but...
Right? Yeah, I mean, like, oh, why settle to be prime minister and president when you could be, you know, the divine goddess of the universe?
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
I mean, like, right? But that was a coping mechanism. That was a overcompensation, but there was an element of truth, and I just realized it was just my expression of healing myself, that I am special in ways nobody can see, but I can. And more importantly, girl, you need to see it for yourself.
Oh yes.
And don't wait, because a lot of us are waiting for that, and then we can be ourselves. And I'm like, nope, you need to be it, and then that will allow other people not to only see you, but also be themselves and heal themselves in so many other ways that they have been traumatized in their own lives.
Yes, very much. I feel like I'm in a very privileged stage now that I'm married. My family is quite accepting, and I also acknowledge that not many people get the opportunity for that. So I feel very blessed. I feel very grateful. So I'm very confident about sort of who I am and loudly speaking it out. Even in my workplace, I'm out and proud, and also trying to advocate for people of my kind. So,
well.
That's so funny. I was just thinking about that RuPaul quote in my shower. Like, how can you love someone else if you don't love yourself? Like, can I get an amen?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I think I do love myself. I mean, I think I kind of went through like a whole process when you just like found out you're queer and you're like non-binary and like you're brown, like you're still struggling with like your self-identity. So I definitely had issues with that growing up. But then now I think like I've kind of forced myself or like kind of pushed myself to come to the point where I'm like, you know what, like why don't I deserve love? I do.
Yes.
Like everyone deserves love. So like, yeah, like I definitely pushed myself and like found friends and families that like respect me and love me, and I think that helps with like loving yourself. So yeah, it's just like slow, radical like love that you show for yourself, and also being okay with taking up space. I think that's important. Yeah.
I think I do. I feel like I've gotten to a point where I'm like confident of who I am, and I do accept and love myself, and I think everyone should too.
Yes. What about you?
I don't.
God, no, I'm kidding. No, really? Do you love yourself?
No.
Why is that?
I mean, I think there's still a lot that I would want to change about myself, and there's a lot to improve still. So I think there's still a road ahead for that. So I don't love myself yet, but I think I will in the future. Yeah.
Sorry, let me just do this without the F word. If you don't love yourself, how in the heck are you gonna love somebody else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, Oprah.
What do Buddhists say so that we don't have and Hindus?
Kadavale.
Kadavale.
You love yourself?
I absolutely love myself.
Okay.
Took me a long way to get to where I am, but I love myself so much now, and I've got so much love to give to people.
I see that. I love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh hell yeah! If you don't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? Can we get an amen?
Amen. Woo! Okay, I didn't expect that, but thank you. Thank you so much. So join us in celebrating love and diversity at Pink Dot this year. Come together with your family and friends to show your support for LGBTQ+ rights and inclusivity. Attend the event, wear pink, and stand proud as we create a more inclusive and accepting society for everyone. Let's make this year's Pink Dot the most vibrant and impactful one yet. Your presence matters because together we will leave no one behind.